And welcome back once again to this first edition of Foley Football Classics. We look back at the 1961 team, no question, probably the most talked about football team in Foley's great history, winning a state championship that year and going 10-0 along the way, 433 points for, only 6 scored against, and joining us now are, of course, legendary coach Ivan Jones, and then 4 former players, and we'll just move from left to right here. We've got Nicky Jones, a running back and linebacker on that squad, and next to him is Joe Wenzel, running back and linebacker, and seated next to him is Kenny Helton, who played on both the offensive and defensive line at the tackle position, and then next to him is Troy Flowers, who was a right guard, and then went on to serve on the Lions coaching staff in various capacities following his playing days at Foley High School. But again, guys, I know that you all have some great memories of those playing days, and it's fun for us to watch the video and really just how good we were back then. I mean, that was a great era, and you know, we know that the game has changed some, but as both coaches recognize in watching the video, the fundamentals are the same. Maybe philosophy, maybe styles may change a little bit over time, and sometimes they have a tendency to come back around. But if you will, just share some of the memories of playing days. And I can remember as a kid growing up on Marigold Avenue, about 4 blocks north, and as I remember, part of the conditioning in summer preseason drills in the heat of August, I'd see you guys come running up Pine Street, I guess it is, or Oak Street, and part of the exercise is back and forth and watching you out on the practice field back in those days. But talk about going into the season, and we mentioned how players conditioned back in those days. I know that over back during the homecoming week, I had the pleasure of talking to Dick Sudi, and Dick talked about the weight training program, as it were, back then, a little different than it is now. Coach Jones had a certain type of weight or conditioning program, I guess, that you guys were involved in. It didn't necessarily involve lifting weights. I think guys got plenty of that on the farm, you know, or on the fishing boat. But just share some memories, and we'll pass the mic around. And we'll start first with Nick Jones. I know that you got a lot of great memories of playing. Just what comes to mind when you think back of 1961 season?
It was a fun year.
Yeah.
Mainly, I grew up doing a lot of farm chores. There was a group of us that would get together sometimes on the weekend, and we'd go down to the beach, and we would practice our skills running into the waves, into the water, and that gave us a chance to build our strength that way. And there was one thing that I remembered most about Coach Jones during that period of time, and it's on the board up there. It says, "A winner never quits, and a quitter never wins." And that has stuck with me all this time.
Great words of wisdom. Joe Wenzel.
Well, I think the 61 team has always been a good memory. When you talk football with the guys, you always can go back and say, you know, about our football team. And even though I was on the second string, it's taught me some great lessons. You know, I've taught in vocational school for 34 years, and people talk about football, and I'd say, well, I was on the second string, and that's taught me some great lessons, is that you cannot be what you want to be just because you want to be it. You have to be given some talents and skills and ability. And that taught me to seek my abilities and all in life. And like I said, I taught school for 34 years, have guys in business and so forth. But I learned those lessons back there playing football because I wanted to be a football player. I had a desire to play, and I tried as hard as anybody ever could, but just didn't have those particular skills and speed that is needed with Foster in front of you and DeBarlow in front of you. I mean, you know, the guys is running, you know, 100 yards in 10 seconds, and both of them together side by side, you know, and there you are running 11 seconds, but you're 10 yards behind them, you know. So it's just one of those incidents where life has to pass you some skills, and the good Lord has to bless you in some areas. And I just thank you, and I thank Coach Jones for what he's taught me, the dedication and hard work. And I've eaten enough of that field out there because I was running against these guys that's the defensive team that allowed 6 points all year, 3 times a week, in the dummy squad, so to speak. And I know how good they were. And I just appreciate these guys and what they meant, has meant in my life, and I think of them often, so.
Well, but you talk about the roles of backup players, if you will, which are key roles, and I think any coach would back me up on that statement that you've got to have depth to make a championship run. To keep those first line guys that are going to be your edge, your difference, maybe in a tight game, in a close game. So the depth factor is key to any great football team, and you guys obviously were loaded. It looked to me from watching the video that our guys, any of our guys, could have started most any place else. From the first player down to 33 on the squad. But it was a great era, and as you mentioned, the life lessons that you get out of a season and experience, and just being part of a team that's so special.
Yes, sir, and it teaches you, when things get going tough, you just reach down, grab that little bit extra that's been instilled in you that you know's there if you'll reach down and get it. And so it really has taught me a lot of good lessons, and thank Coach Jones. And I can't say enough about our quarterback, Lester Smith. Some of us guys, we didn't know the plays that well. Every player on that team could ask him what I'm supposed to do, and he would tell you. He knew those plays, and he was a great inspiration, and still is today to a lot of us.
And natural leader.
Natural leader. So I just appreciate him so much. And he said so much about other players in the video, but I don't think he mentioned his own name one time. And I just, he deserves all the praise that he gets. He's just a great guy.
Yeah, but I will stick with you on that one for sure. He certainly meant a lot to me in my life, and in a lot of different ways. And it was a natural leader and a great player, obviously, to his much-deserved Hall of Fame college career, both at the junior college level and at Southeastern Louisiana, a 4-year school, and then on to a legendary career in coaching, and shaped just like your coach, Coach Jones did. Coach Smith certainly shaped a lot of lives, and Rusty and Keith and others who played for him will attest to that. And real tribute to the experience that young guys get playing under such a great program, because not everyone who plays high school football is so fortunate to have such great leadership and mentors, really. So your words are
real quick. I know Keith appreciate this. I've seen Lester play a lot of ball with him, but we grew up in elementary all the way up. One of the greatest plays I ever seen him make was that physical ed ball when he was playing softball, and we didn't use gloves because we couldn't afford them, just barehanded. And he just laid out and caught a ball in his right hand, and I can still picture him today. Line shot somebody hit, and he caught that softball with one hand, and that's the greatest play I've ever seen. I played a lot of softball in my life. Lester's a special guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Kenny Helton, again, offensive and defensive line, and I want to go back at some point and ask each of you where your life paths have taken you, and we'll start right here along that. So, what have you been doing since graduation a few years back?
Well, it's taken me out of state. I lived most of my life in the state of Texas, and I'm really blessed and to get to be back and spend some time with these guys that I love, and to talk about Coach Jones. And I have 3 anecdotal stories, short stories that I'd like to tell. And they all involve Coach Jones and what an impact he had on all of us, not only on the field, but just the integrity instilled and the quality that he expected from all of us. But I remember the game we just saw, the UMS game. When we got over there, we were a bunch of, they called us potato farmers, and we went to the big city and we played at Ladd Stadium, and we played a night game, and we arrived early, and Coach said, I want all of you to walk around the field when we got there. We were in our street clothes, and we walked around the field, and he said, as I remember, he said, now the grass is the same kind of grass we got. and the lights work just like ours work. And he said, and they put on their pants one leg at a time. Now, y'all get out there, don't be nervous, and show them what we can do. And so he was sort of a psychologist. He took the edge off of that playing in the big city, playing in the big stadium, and as you can see, the game went very well.
Can I ask you right there, Kenny?
Yes.
Was that the only game played in Ladd that year?
Yes, that was the only game we played in Ladd Stadium that year. The ball game that we did get scored on against Alba, I remember, and Coach may have alluded to this in his comments, but as I recall, that was before halftime. We actually were scored on before halftime, and they had already taken the first unit off the field early in the second quarter, and then we got scored on. And I remember everybody just sort of on the first unit picked up their headgear off and went back on the field. Coach didn't tell us to do that, but he told us about it at halftime. And he told us that if we ever did that again, we wouldn't be playing ball for him. I've never seen Coach get so angry. And, I mean, we're ahead a huge amount, but he let us know he was the coach of that team, and we better never do that again. I remember that very distinctly. He was asserting that he was in charge, and we knew it from that point on. There wasn't anybody ever thought about putting themselves back in the game that I know of. The third anecdotal story that I want to tell about Coach Jones was after we had beaten Pensacola Catholic, and we were coming back, and he was actually relaxing, and Coach Kelly was driving the bus, and Coach would come back and sit down by him and talk a little bit. He'd talk to players, little groups of players, and he walked in and sat down. There were several of us who were leaning around. Somebody said, "Well, Coach, what are you going to do now? You know, you just beat everybody. You had a winning season. You beat everybody." And he thought for a moment, and he said, "I don't know. I may get out of coaching in a few years. This is kind of hard on you. Know, the expectations are high." And I was shocked. I couldn't even imagine Foley football without Coach Ivan Jones at the head of the helm. I couldn't even imagine. Of course, Lester went on to play, and Lester was a great example for all of us. I mean, Coach here. And talking about Coach, Lester and his shoulder that was separated, I remember he had a pin sticking out of his arm. And I think his dad may have put a tire up in his backyard, and he kept working and working and working. He had the best work ethic, Troy, that I ever saw of anybody. But that's the kind of teammates that I was blessed to play with. All these guys had a tremendous impact on my life just by playing ball with them and being coached by them.